Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and this is the OTOFIX D1 Lite diagnostic scan tool. It is a tablet-based, Android-based touchscreen, connects Bluetooth to the OBD2 connector here. I'm gonna approach all of this for the DIYer who has yet to make the leap to maybe a more sophisticated scan tool. Now, like many of you, I've been sitting around waiting for AI to take over because I really think we are at the level where you should just plug this in and it tells you everything you need to know. Maybe breaks it down, maybe even just has a push a button and your cart at O'Reilly's, populates with all the stuff you need. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is cover several different angles from the DIYer why this kind of technology is not only essential, but also something that you really need to have just simply to work on any modern car, as well as a bunch of other things. Now, I did post a short about this earlier, and basically the theme of that short was this can pay for itself simply by existing. Let's say you left it in the front seat of your vehicle when you take it to a mechanic. Mechanic, I'm assuming, is going to realize maybe there's something here going on, and they better be a little bit more honest. Now, a lot of people are going to give me flack saying it's, the customer that's messing things up by trying to poke around themselves, or that mechanics are honest. There are a couple of bad ones. Look, I have had plenty of bad mechanics. I'm not even going to go there. I've had stuff not done. I've had it done wrong. I've been lied to. I've been overcharged. I mean, in all the years I've been owning different vehicles and taking it different places. Plus, I know I have been kind of the crash test dummy for new techs who are just exploring things, who barely know how to use tools. And it actually is leading me to a video on why techs need to go into debt buying good tools, which I'm getting off track. I'm going to go back here. Why do you need this, especially as a DIYer? I'm going to give you a bunch of reasons. Number one, AI isn't here yet, so there's that. Number two, this levels the playing field. This definitely, I did a short a while ago in this on this, and the theme was basically just the existence of it may cause a mechanic to do better, simply because they may think you know more than maybe you do, or maybe you do know something, because you can just plug it in and it'll, read all the codes. You can just sit on that. You can get a second opinion. Honestly, this is matching more what I'm seeing in the medical community than in the usual auto tech community. No, it's not. You go to WebMD and, Google everything, and of course it's going to be cancer, whatever it is, but instead it gives you some things to look at. Now, the human body is made up of a whole bunch of different systems. So is a car, and those systems not only work together, but they also work independently, and sometimes one system causes some malfunction in another system, and that other system is perfectly fine. It's just the earlier system, the upstream system, caused an issue. I have had that numerous times where, like I've got a Subaru with the Christmas tree lights on the dashboard, and of course, there's all kinds of possibilities of what that is. People are throwing money at that situation. But what's honestly going on is you end up with kind of a cascade effect where this issue, this one sensor in this one part in this one system, maybe the fuel system, causes the ABS system to be offline, the braking system, which causes the traction control to be broken, and then other things pop up that may or may not be related. Like I always get the tire pressure indicators, because half of those, they die on me, in the years I use stuff, or I end up with a bad connection, and I've given up on even trying to connect those things, or having stores, connect them. I'm not going to name names, but I've taken my vehicle back too many times that I've stopped doing it. I'll just live with it like I used to, with no active sensors working, at least in some of the vehicles. But anyway, going back to this thing, what I have found is that it does level the playing field quite a bit. I can do some homework up front. I can understand things a little bit better. It's like, show me what's going on and the relationship. If a mechanic knows what they're doing, that should just take a minute. Literally, you can point these things out. But if you're just shooting in the dark as a mechanic and you're trying to, bluff your way through a bunch of unknowns, and yes, there are, and you be honest, and, honestly, most customers understand that, but instead we go in leery thinking, you're going to try to upsell us, or you're going to try to fix something that isn't broken, who knows what. So I see this as kind of leveling the playing field, and that's another way it pays for itself. A third is school yourself. This can tell you directions to study to figure out what you know about the diagnostics in a vehicle, or what's going on. And it gives you very specific things. Those things then you can look up, you can study. This has a way that you can jump out to the internet and actually check things on your own. So it teaches you kind of like an iPad might, trying to teach you some school subject. So what you can do is you can go into videos, help areas, and study something. In fact, this will actually create links into that, which is kind of neat. And then once that's happened, you can study it. So there you go. What's I find more fascinating about this kind of technology is that the individual detail is much, much more than what I used to get with small little scanners and looking up codes. That's why I think AI should be involved. If I'm having to dissect, decode things, break the code, trying to figure out what's going on, instead, I should be able to go right into this, and then just hit up something and then find out what's happening. What you can do is, as you can see through these, easily navigate the different aspects of vehicle diagnostics and then start studying that. Now, like I mentioned in the old days, where we're working on stuff and trying to figure it out, the hard way, and we're not quite at AI where it would just tell me what I'm supposed to figure out here, which I do think is coming, and that will be next level. But anyway, just thinking about this, I can literally go into my vehicles and pull down content that I've brought up before and tried to figure out what's actually going on. So here, if I wanted to go into something, let's say the diagnostics of a vehicle, I can hit the diagnostic button, and then when I choose the vehicle, I have all of these hot functions here, so I can individually test any one of these things. I don't have it connected right here down in my shop, but if I made that connection, you can see all of the stuff that I could easily go into, which again, going back to that school yourself, this is exactly what I need. Otherwise, it's like drinking from a fire hose. You've got your circulatory system with the oil. You've got your braking system. You've got your digestive system with the fuel. You've got your nervous system with all the electronics. And you somehow have to sort all that out. Plus all these individual things that you can actually test and try, because there's sensors and controllers on all of them. Obviously, you don't know as much as a mechanic if you're like me. In fact, it might be that dangerous amount of knowledge that most people are worried about. But what can happen is that that knowledge just never really reaches, in my case, the customer. And I'd like to know, both to assist maybe the future mechanic, but also to know myself, can I change this? Can I understand this? Is this something that I can work with? Because it's critical, especially today, to have a better understanding of how these systems work together. It's mind-boggling. I've got old vehicles as well. They're so much simpler, but so much less efficient. And in some ways, reliability might have to turn from, getting 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 miles out of something to it starts right away, it runs it at, the appropriate level, it works in all conditions, things like that. Whereas, I've had one of my best vehicles, I couldn't start it if it was, really cold out. It would take forever. I've got another vehicle, I'll just pop the air cleaner and squirt some, whatever flammable material I've got around in there and to start it up. But I don't expect that to be the average life of a car owner. You have to really want that. It certainly doesn't work in, emergencies. But anyway, working with something like this, it just takes you to the next level. So if you think about taking a course on auto mechanics, yeah, that'd be great. Or studying it. Where do you start? This will tell you. Where do you actually go to get the training? Well, this will help guide you in that direction to online resources, but also it starts at, basically I look at this as kind of a curriculum, and it works down to the level of this is what you need to look at. Here's a starting place, and then you expand from there. Otherwise, it's so wild, all of the stuff that's going on, and you just look and it's overwhelming. You know, or you fixate on very small things. Used to be oil, you know, and maybe belts and brakes, and you know, you could swap out headlamps, you could, you know, fix small dents. You know, everybody had a, you know, if they were into cars at all, they had, you know, minor skills in many of the different specialized areas. But now what do we have? You know, something like this. Another thing is this reminds me kind of telemedicine. Can you imagine I'm on the phone with, say, a mechanic or with AAA or with something? I could literally, let's say my car stalled out somewhere, you know, and usually where I am, it's fairly remote. You know, I could plug it in and at least get something, which if they've got to come out to me rather than towing it away, you know, to their shop with something like this, I could give them a heads up. This is what I'm seeing. I can even, you know, take screenshots and I could email those to them, or I could, you know, photograph it with my phone and, you know, text them back and forth. It takes it to another level. It gives you essentially talents or almost superpowers that are beyond your capabilities. It has bi-directional tests, so you can actually zap things back and forth to try to see, you know, make something work. Okay, I see there's a problem here, assuming it doesn't find out, you know, what the problem is ahead of time. Also, you know, I could clear the codes and see what pops right back up. Obviously, I can do that with others. This is so easy, and it's almost inviting. Would you like to clear the codes? It's our friendly, you know, consultant here. That's really what it is. So the idea of having this kind of power, this kind of connectivity, based on a, you know, small device that's not very expensive, and has the capability to be updated. It comes with 2 years of updates, and then you can pay, you know, a little over $100 for continued updating. And then what do you have after that? Well, you've got a new lease on life with whatever new vehicles you've got. So that is the OTOFIX D1 Lite. Should you get one? Yeah, especially if you don't think you should get one. That's literally where this belongs. If you're a seasoned mechanic, you probably have something like this or way better. But honestly, if you're still poking around, trying to figure things out on your own with no particular starting place, then here you go. Let me know your thoughts. And with that, Doc out.